Welcome back to the Become Limitless podcast. This week I'm going to cover whether I recommend the Wim Hof Method or not. So if you tuned in for the start of this season, you know that I covered a lot of information on what the Wim Hof Method is and what that entails and what you'd be doing throughout that time. I wanted to just give you a second now. You go back and check that out if you haven't seen that, because this one's not going to make much sense if you haven't watched that episode. For this episode, I'm going to just cover what exactly I did over the last month and a bit in relation to the Wim Hof Method. What I found I got, the benefits I got out of that, and then just a brief conclusion and just some tips and some recommendations from myself and how I felt that I could get more out of this Wim Hof Method if you want to try it yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for myself doing the Wim Hof Method, I did an ice bath once a week with cold showers in between every day. That was my cold exposure. I also went through and I did the breathing technique as well, which is the 30 to 40 breaths in through the belly, out and relax out, and then do a retention hold on the end where you're on the breath out. So I did this breath in conjunction with the exercise I was doing, and obviously it's meant to boost performance. There's also another breath they do for 60 breaths of those same deep inhalations and then exhale, inhalation, exhale, and at the 60th one you hold for 10 seconds and then you go and do your exercise. So I did complete that as well, and we'll go through that right now. So with the Wim Hof Method, I completed 3 rounds. The first couple sessions I did. I averaged around between just over a minute and a minute 30 with my holds on the exhale of the breath. That's for the first week. I then proceeded into the next week where I was doing, this is just once in the morning, so I'll do that morning before I complete my meditations. I felt like I got more out of it my meditations, to be honest, when I did the breath beforehand. And the next week proceeded to about a minute 10 to a minute 30. So obviously going through the rounds, I started to do 3 to 4 rounds of the breathing. 1 minute 10 all up to a minute 30 I was holding my breath. And then the next week I was getting up to the first round around the minute 10 again. That seems to be my baseline, the minute 10 when I first started doing it, and then around a minute 45 for the last couple of rounds of that breathing. So I did start to improve over those 3 weeks. I then stopped the breathing for a week just to see whether I noticed a reduced whatever I wanted to feel. Did it change something quickly? Did I feel differently? I did notice my skin got itchier again, and I didn't even realize that it went away. The itchiness went away when I was doing the breath work for myself, because I'm still fighting that feeling of like itchiness and dry skin. So it actually alleviated that to a certain extent, and I didn't realize it did that until I stopped, and that's the reason why I stopped. My performance also did take a dip in there as well. I did stop doing the 60 breaths and then the 10-second hold before my exercise, just to see whether I did lose performance, and I did feel like I lost performance. I felt like I had to do more of a warm-up in the actual exercise startup to warm myself into where I wanted to go, into the performance I wanted to be when I was running and riding and swimming. I also found that when I was doing the breath work, that I didn't have that warm up. So that's what I'm talking about there. I felt like I could go straight to where I wanted to go, and then I could keep going and power through. So for race pace, I didn't have to worry about getting into a certain rhythm or warming up to a certain rhythm in my race. I could just go straight into my race pace and hold races. If I was going for a PB for a 5k run or a PB for the 40k bike ride or whatever the case may be, I felt with that breath that I could actually push myself straight away. I didn't have to get myself warmed up into what I was doing. Another part of it with the breath work is you can do the 30 to 40 big breaths with the exhale hold and then complete push-ups. So I was able to go from about 40 push-ups while holding my breath to 52, 53, 54, and I didn't quite get to 60 push-ups when completing that exhale or that breath. So I could see, and it's amazing to feel, and you feel a tingling sensation throughout your body, and your performance is better. It's just, without a doubt, my performance was better when I did that breath. What the long-term effects are of that, I don't know. Obviously, you got to keep doing it for a lot longer to see what happens. And I will continue to keep doing these ice baths, cold exposure, and I'll do the breaths as well because I do feel good. And being from an asthmatic background, I feel more powerful. I feel more in control of my breath as well. So that's really important for me. Let's go on to the ice baths and the cold showers. So the cold showers they're not even anything strenuous when it comes to summertime where I live, because the water temperature is just not cold. It isn't cold at any stretch of the imagination. So they'll pretty much just start of the morning, no hot, just straight into a cold shower, and just to try and get that cold exposure between the ice baths. And ice baths started around, I started at about 16, 17, 18 degrees. I've experienced water that's been at about 18 degrees, and I feel like that was the same amount. That started in a little blow-up kiddie pool, one of the kids' pools, and I just added ice we had lying around the house just to see what it felt like, just to start, bring yourself into it, start to slowly expose yourself to that type of stress. And then for the next couple of weeks, I was going to reduce the temperature down and add more ice to it, and see how we go. I then purchased a wheelie bin where I can fill the water up to a certain level, and then add ice. Obviously, it gives me better control. So there's less water in the wheelie bin, obviously, and then I have to add less ice to the water to cool it down, to get that ice bath effect. From there, the first 18 degrees was actually quite comfortable. It was nice. The kids even jumped in afterwards and enjoyed a little bit of a ice bath afterwards, so it was pretty good. The next ice bath was done. I used, I want to say, about 3 or 4 bags of ice. I can't remember how many bags of ice, but it was around the 8 to 10 degree mark. It was much cooler than the 18 degrees in the pool. We started to get a little bit of condensation build up on the outside of the wheelie bin, so it was getting cool. And I feel it was about 8 to 10 degrees because it was quite comfortable when I got in there. I focused on my breath, but if I lost my focus, I was still able to keep warm. I was still able to feel the warmth. I now say that after being experiencing a bit cooler temperatures. So with that, I was able to maintain my body temperature much more efficiently by keeping focused and being aware of my breath. And I'm not doing the Wim Hof breath during this time. I'm just breathing in and out and just concentrating on the breath and concentrating on feeling the warmth inside my body and radiating that out into the water. A big tip when doing this, it can get exponentially harder when you start moving in that water. By sitting still in the water, you can heat the water around you. The water outside of that might be cooler, but you warm that water just around the body, around the skin, and it makes it more comfortable. But as soon as you start moving the body, start twisting the body, start moving the arms and the legs in the wheelie bin, that warm water gets absorbed by the cold water, and you feel cooler. And it does. It creates a cooling effect. So when I got to the colder ones, so like the next ice bath I did was around the 5 degree mark, and that was a lot tougher to get into. The ice didn't melt as quickly, like you still had ice on top. And this is my whole process, was to slowly bring myself down and to slowly expose myself to more and more stressful situations when it comes to the ice bath. So at this point, it cooled down to 5 degrees. I believe it was about a 1 minute exposure I sat in there for, and I found that temperature between 4 and 5 degrees, at that temperature, if I did not really focus and really be present in what I was doing, and if I started getting distracted by kids or my partner talking to me, if she talked to me, I got cold. I got really cold. My body started to take over, like, oh, hang on a second, you're really freezing here. It's cold. What are you doing? And I had to really bring myself back and be very present and not think of something outside of myself, not think of something externally, not think of something happening tomorrow or happened before, but in the past or the present, in the past or the future. I really had to be focused on what was going on right now. And it was very powerful because as we all know, the more we practice those things, the more your brain can wire those circuits. And that allowed me to be really present in the moment, that cold water. So, and the last ice bath I'm going to be doing, which I haven't done currently, I was to try and get this done before this podcast was put out. But obviously circumstances happen and things change. So will be at zero. I'll make it as cold as I possibly can. I'll add as many bags as I can to the water to have the ice just sitting there, and I'll be in with the ice. So there will be an Instagram post on that, so stay tuned, looking out for the Instagram post on the ice bath. There'll be a picture of me in the wheelie bin, hopefully, and a picture of the temperature gauge to show that it's very as close as we can get to 0 degrees in the water, and myself obviously sitting there in hopefully a meditative state, keeping my body nice and warm, and hopefully I'll go for a minute as well. I also have been going in and out, so I'll get out. The kids will have a go as well because they wanted to have a go. I let them go as far as they want to go. They can submerge themselves. They're able to get themselves into the 8-10 degree water. The 5 degree, however, was just legs for them, a bit too much. My partner wanted to have it a crack. She also got her legs just in as well before she started getting a lot of aching in the knees and ankles from her previous injuries in her legs. So it was obviously helping her recovery on those joints and stuff, but she couldn't get any further in. But next time we're going to do it, we are going to try and get in there and hopefully push ourselves, and we can see how far we can go when it's at 0 degrees. And I really want to focus there, and I really want to expose myself to that stress to see what I can, how I can muster myself and how present I can be, and how much I can really stay in the moment when that happens. So stay tuned for the Instagram picture. There might even be a video of that, me popping into the water too, so that should be exciting. Alrighty, so what did I get out of this? What benefits did I feel out of that? So recovery, I'm not sure I got any real benefit out of the recovery side of things. Like, I do a lot of active recovery as well, so there's a lot of different things going on there that probably helped and aided my recovery with my exercising. So I'm not sure if I can't be definitive in my answers here, and my conclusion on the ice baths. I do believe it has a benefit. It definitely has a benefiting effect by reducing inflammation in the body. Obviously, your body recovers quickly when you reduce inflammation. But I also believe it was not physically, as in my legs and muscles and my joints and stuff like that were recovering quicker. I felt my whole body was feeling better. I felt more energized because I reducing inflammation throughout the whole body, not just where you injured or any parts like that. You're reducing the inflammation throughout the whole body, and I did feel good for that. And so for the last 2 weeks where I haven't done an ice bath, I have felt like the inflammation come back up and the itchiness and all those kind of things that creep in with, like, so I stopped the breathing and the ice baths for a week. I just haven't been able to do that last ice bath again when I was supposed to. But yeah, it was really good to compare the difference. So I will be continuing to try and do as many ice baths as I possibly can. Do that once a week if I can. If I can do more earlier, I will be trying to do that. I'm trying to make up a bit more of a sustainable model of doing ice baths. So more ice cream containers full of ice to pump in there instead of grabbing bags of ice, to allow us to be a bit more self-sufficient there and not having to go out and get some ice for ourselves. Mental. Now, what did I find from the mental side of things? And I did touch on it earlier about being present and the focus you can have, the laser focus on just because at that 5 degrees, as soon as you lost focus, as soon as you went somewhere else, as soon as I got a kid splashing me in the face with water or something like, because I put the hand in the water in the wheelie bin, then I lost it and I started to get cold. I could feel my body lose the ability to keep itself warm. And I do know from reading the Wim Hof book that it made a big difference when you weren't focused. You have to be completely present in the moment, and being able to do that allows you to keep that warmth, allows you to keep control of the body temperature, your core temperature, your skin temperature in those stressful situations, in that external physical stressful situation. So it was very important, not very important, but it was very impressive to see then after I do my meditations, when I do these things, that there was another level of focus, there was another level of presence that I was able to stay with myself. It wasn't, my mind didn't wander as often as it usually does when I'm doing my meditations. So it taught me, or forced a type of meditation, it forced a type of focus on you. Because if you didn't, you got too cold and you had to get out, and I didn't want to do that. So therefore, I had to adopt, or I had to force myself into making more focused and more present, being more present with my mind, to allow me to sit in those temperatures for longer, which I believe is a massive benefit for people that have struggled with the meditation. So if you do struggle, give it a crack. Give cold showers, give cold ice baths a crack, and just focus not even on the recovery side of things, but the mental strength that you gain from it, from doing something very difficult. Now, the physical aspects of this, I think I did touch on. My skin was softer doing the cold showers and the breath work. I felt like my body was healthier, obviously with the reduced inflammation. I've struggled with eczema and asthma and a whole host of other different things going on in my body since I was little. So being able to have that reduction in inflammation, I believe helps the body, and that cold water does help do that. It really, I can feel myself be not as irritated is probably the word I'm looking for, because right now if I sweat too much or I sweat a little bit or something like that, I can get welts or reactions to my own sweat. So my body's still recovering, still on the mend from all the craziness that went on when I had the red skin syndrome way back when, a couple of 3 or 4 5 years ago. So the cold is really, really helping me aid that recovery as well. So I will keep you posted on how that all goes and how that recovery is going, and whether these are obviously making it better or worse, the cold showers, but I believe they are making it better. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Another benefit from the cold showers that I wasn't expecting, they did say you are exercising your vascular system. So that's all the blood vessels that go throughout your body, and when you go into cold, they obviously constrict and restrict the flow of blood to the extremities to obviously keep the blood in the internal middle part of your body and protect your organs and keep that core temperature at the right temperature. And that's the whole purpose of your body at that point. What's also happening is you're exercising that vascular system. You're making it contract and then relax, and then contract and relax. So by going in the water, you contract, it's getting really tight, and when you hop out, then relax again. And by doing this, you're allowing your vascular system to be more elastic, to be stronger. And then when you get exposed to cold environments, you're able to restrict the blood flow. You can really control your core temperature. But it also goes twofold in then the ability for your vascular system to relax and be elastic is then in the heat, where I'm definitely exposed to heat and exercising. I'd found that I wasn't feeling hot. I wasn't getting as hot in the same situations, the same temperatures, the same exposure to that heat that I normally would. The sweat, I wasn't sweating as much because I didn't feel as hot, and I was looking at everyone around doing the same exercise and they're all sweating profusely, but I wasn't. So there was a definite increase in my ability to tolerate and regulate my own body temperature, even in the heat, not just the cold, the heat. So that was another physical benefit or side effect of doing this as well that I didn't expect to have. Now let's get on to the recommendations. For this, definitely take it slow. Really slowly bring it down. You don't want to shock your system. And I believe the way I did it went 18, about 10, and then 5, and then this next one will be 0. I've allowed my body to get used to that stress, that type of stress that's going on in the body, and it's not just gone shock and you jump straight out and you hurt you don't hurt yourself. Sorry, you hurt your ability or your motivation to get back in and do it again. When you do it and you feel like you've achieved something, I did that cold water. Okay, let's go colder. Oh, I did that as well. It allows you to build the confidence in the water as well. When instead going straight just ice and going, oh, geez, I can only do a second or 2 seconds. I can't even put my foot in there because it's too cold. That just damages your confidence when it comes to it. So we want to build our confidence up. So take it steady, take it slow, bringing that temperature down. Okay, the next point is if you're having trouble being present, and I mentioned this before, I just want to mention it again, do the cold exposure. You have no choice but to be present in the moment, to be fully focused on what you're doing. You can't let outside distractions, feelings, thoughts happen. You have to be completely focused, and it allows you to have this forced meditative state. And it obviously, the brain fires and wires when it does that. It's learning. It goes, oh, hang on a second, I need to do this. And then obviously when you do meditations or any other situation you're going through, then you've got that arsenal, and you start to build it up. So the more cold exposures you do, then the stronger that ability to have focus, to be present, to be in the moment will be. And then you can utilize that in other parts of your day, going to sleep, quieting the mind down when you go to sleep, or even during your meditations. So I do recommend doing the cold exposure for that reason too. The last recommendation I have is it's tough. It's tough on your body. It's a stress. I can't remember the correct word for it, so I won't quote it. You can probably look up what type of stress cold exposure is, but it allows you to build up your resilience to stress. And that's all types of stress at that point. So if you do build your resilience up to stress, even if it's external stress like cold stress, you're still building your resilience to internal, external, made up in your head, whatever the stresses may be. You are increasing your ability to resist those, to your tolerance to those stresses. So by doing this, you're also building that resistance or tolerance to stress. And I found that, like, the more I do that and the more stressful, that's the same with exercising, that's the same with any stressful situation that you can make yourself into physically. It builds your tolerance, and therefore when it comes to stressful situations at work or with relationships, you have more of a handle on it because you have a higher tolerance for that stress, and you're able to function really well in those situations. So that's it for this episode. Hopefully you got something out of this episode, and when we come back next week, we'll be talking about my fast that I am currently on while I do this recording right now. So stay tuned for that one.